Hi, we're back with COVID cooking. This is the risotto show. So I want to start with a very basic risotto recipe from which you can do whatever you want. With that in mind, later on, we're going to be having seafood risotto. So there's going to be some variations on the theme. The important stuff is we're drinking Sancerre, which is a Loire Valley Sauvignon Blanc. Very, very nice. I'm not cooking with that. So here we have, if you were part of the chicken stock show, you know about schmaltz. This is the fat, the chicken fat that sits on top of the stock. So I'm using that. We have some fresh garlic. We have quite a bit of garlic confit because you can't have enough garlic confit. You can't have too much. The rice, if you are a bona fide Italian, then you are supposed to use arborio rice. I'm not, and I don't. This is Calrose. It is a short, fat grain rice, just like arborio. I've made it for people who, real Italians, who can't tell the difference. So save yourself a pile of money and get Calrose. Lemon, later. Onion. Right now in Central Florida, in the summertime, Vidalia onions are in season. So when I went to the store the other day, these Vidalia onions were $1.99 a pound, and the regular onions were $4 a pound. So yeah, I'm gonna get this. Tastes a lot better, a lot sweeter, and a lot cheaper. So let's do the onion thing. I think I did it before, but I'm gonna do it again. If you're not familiar with it or if you're not comfortable with it, I'm gonna show you how to do an onion. First of all, we're gonna cut it in half. We're gonna cut both ends off. Now we peel. There's a lot of stuff you can do with Vidalia onions. If you are using the barbecue, you can take the onion, leave it whole, cut the top and the bottom off, and then put some butter, a little beef base cube or beef bouillon cube or whatever on it, wrap it in aluminum foil, and just put it on a slow part of the grill. Oh, awesome. Fantastic. So, if you want to practice your knife skills, an onion is a great thing to practice it on. Because you want to go both ways. So, keep your fingertips in. As long as your fingertips are in and you don't raise the knife above your fingers, it is literally impossible for you to cut yourself. So, notice I'm not going all the way through. So, the back end will hold the whole thing together. If you go all the way through, it just falls apart. And we turn, go the other way. Some people like to cut it this way. I don't really see the need, personally. For risotto, they need to be chopped up fairly fine, but not super fine. As I said, the beginning of this is going to be a very basic risotto recipe because that's the important part of this whole deal. Once you learn the basics of making risotto, then you can do whatever you want. You can put whatever you want in this. So the basics are chicken stock, white wine, onions, garlic, and the rice. And because the grain is a short fat grain, you have to have the stock boiling. And then you put it in a ladleful at a time and you stir it, and you have to sit on it. You can't just walk away from it. So a little laborious, but the end result is definitely worth it. Okay, as you can see, we've got boiling chicken stock. Even though this is going to end up being a seafood risotto, I'm still going to use chicken stock. I prefer to use chicken stock because it's very rich and it lends a base flavor to it that you wouldn't ordinarily have. So now this pan is hot, not too hot, about medium high. We're going to go with some olive oil. And the schmaltz. Onions. And the garlic. Wooden spoon. Always, always, always use a wooden spoon. So now that's going to go until the onions are translucent, the garlic is translucent, and then we add the rice. Okay, the onions and the garlic have been cooking for a little while, a little brown. So now we're going to put the rice in. I want to saute the rice a little bit, crisp up the outside. It slows down the absorption of the liquid. And you want that liquid to absorb slowly because otherwise you'll have the outside of the kernel will be overcooked and the inside will be not cooked at all. So that's why we go through this whole process with the hot stock and stirring it in slowly a little bit at a time. Okay, the rice has been crisping up just a little bit, not a whole lot. So now we go with white wine, probably a cup or so. As you can see, it absorbed all that really, really quickly. Now we're going to go with the stock. Couple of ladles of stock, just stir it in. And then we're going to wait until the rice has absorbed that stock before we go with more. In the meanwhile, I'm going to add some mushrooms. Mushrooms is not part of the basic risotto recipe, but since we're having mushrooms in our seafood risotto, they're going in now. If you're using mushrooms, they always go in early. Let them cook down, let them cook the water out, and that way the mushrooms themselves will lend their flavor to the rice. It looks like a ton of mushrooms, but mushrooms are 80% water, so that'll all cook out. Okay, even though the mushrooms haven't released their water into this yet, you can see that it's already absorbed the stock. So, time for more stock. There's a ton of things that you can do with this. If you wanted to do Like if you wanted to put saffron in it, you would put the saffron in right now at the beginning to let it cook in, let it lend its flavor and its color to the whole thing. I have done vegetarian risotto with vegetable stock. I have done seafood risotto with seafood stock. You can use whatever kind of stock you want. You can use literally whatever kind of vegetables or produce or whatever you want to put in here, you can. When my kids were young, it was dinner a lot because it was cheap and whatever was in the fridge went into the risotto. You don't want the heat to be too high on this because you want the rice to cook at a nice pace. At the end, what you want is for the rice to be a little bit al dente. Americans typically like it less al dente than Italians do, but that's okay. And it's going to, because by its nature, this rice is a short grain rice, it has talc on it. It has what amounts to the residue of milling on the outside of the kernel. So that residue, it's called talc, will thicken the liquid. So this is not going to be a dry end result. It's going to have almost its own sauce with it. Really doesn't take long to do it. But once you've started the rice, the whole process only takes about 20-25 minutes. And you need to stir it a lot. You really can't walk away from it because it'll burn on the bottom. Almost always finish risotto with cream and cheese. We're going to do both of those, but not a whole lot of cheese. If this was going to be, I have a spinach and 4 cheese risotto recipe that had a ton of cheese in there. But because of the seafood, now a good Italian, a real Italian, will never mix seafood and cheese. But I'm not a good Italian. So we're going to put some cheese in here because I like it that way. We're also going to put some lemon zest and a little lemon juice in here. I'm going to put this garlic confit in here. Now, I happen to know that the people who are eating this tonight really don't care if they bite into a big chunk of garlic confit. It's also very soft and a lot of it will puree out into the end product. If you want to, you can mush it all up. Also, spinach, baby spinach. Looks like a lot, it's not. Once again, like the mushrooms, it's all water. It'll cook down to nothing. I want to put it in about halfway through the process. Otherwise, if it's not cooked enough, you get that oxalic acid coating your teeth. If you're not familiar with risotto and how it reacts, At this point, you might want to start tasting it to see how done it is. You can, what we used to do in a restaurant is to make the base recipe. Onions, garlic, olive oil. We used to do butter and chicken stock and cook the risotto and cook it al dente. So it was really, really to the bite. And then put it on a sheet pan and put it in the fridge. And then when we were cooking a la minute, you take that base out, put it in a pan, put whatever you're doing with it, and it's done in a couple of minutes. So if you want to make some extra risotto base, I've never tried freezing it, but I suppose you could. So now you can see there's still a bit of liquid left in here. It's just finishing up. Right now, the risotto is al dente. It's got a little bite to it. In the next 5-10 minutes, that will finish up and it'll absorb that. So now I want to go with the lemon zest. Lemon because we're doing seafood. Seafood and lemon. And we'll go with some cream. The cream went in cold, and that's okay because the rest of it is hot enough. It's going to bring that up to temp real quick. And now the seafood. This is a lot of seafood. Shrimp and scallops. You will notice that the shrimp have no tails. That's right, no tails. My pet peeve. Unless I'm expected to handle the shrimp with my hands, I don't want to see any tails on there. And don't think you're fooling anybody by leaving the tail on there and we think it's a bigger shrimp. It's not. At this point, I'm going to season it. Remember what I said, you never season until the end. Well, guess what? It's the end. Salt. Pepper. The asparagus, by the way, is a side for tonight. If you're wondering when I'm going to put that in the risotto, I'm not. Okay, so this is done. As you can see, it's a little soupy, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So the seafood is done. I'm going to add some cheese because I like cheese. Not a lot. That is Parmesan and Parmigiano Reggiano and Pecorino Romano. So that is it. Now we'll plate it up. Little chives and some fresh diced tomato. And it's Christmas. Hey, look at that. So that's risotto. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.